The stars beyond the observation window looked peaceful, but Minho Kim knew that was about to change. He stood on the bridge of the UESS Horizon, watching as the alien ship approached. It was massive, 3 times the size of any human vessel, covered in strange symbols that seemed to shift and glow. "Captain, they're hailing us," said the communications officer. Minho straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The screen flickered to life, showing a being unlike anything humanity had ever seen. It had 4 arms, skin that rippled with colors, and eyes that seemed to look through him rather than at him. The creature spoke, and the translator made its words sound cold and formal. "I am Ambassador Velther of the Galactic Coalition. Your species has been observed. You will submit to integration into our systems, or you will be pacified. This is not a negotiation. This is protocol." Minho felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice steady. "I'm Captain Minho Kim of United Earth. We don't respond well to threats. Maybe we can discuss this like civilized beings?" Velther made a sound that might have been laughter. "Civilized. How typical. Every primitive species believes they have a choice." The alien gestured with 2 of its arms. "We have subjugated 47 worlds. All of them resisted at first. All of them learned. You will too." "We'll see about that," Minho said quietly. 3 days later, a delegation from the Coalition arrived at the United Earth Space Station. Minho was there, along with Earth's top scientists and military leaders. Among them was Una Park, a young engineer who had made her name redesigning Earth's defense systems. She looked nervous but determined. Velther swept into the meeting room like he owned it. Behind him came soldiers carrying a device that looked like a metal sphere covered in wires. They placed it on the table between the 2 groups. "This is a neural disruptor," Velther announced. "It is how we ensure compliance. It targets the fear centers of the brain, amplifying them beyond tolerance. Every species we have encountered cannot resist it. You will experience it now, so you understand what resistance costs." "You're going to use a weapon on us during peace talks?" asked General Hansen, the military commander. "It is not a weapon. It is a teaching tool," Velther said. He activated the device. Minho felt it immediately. A wave of cold dread washed over him, like standing at the edge of a cliff in the dark. His heart raced. His palms sweated. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to hide, to submit. It was awful, but he remained standing. Around him, the other humans had gone pale. Some were breathing hard. One diplomat had gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles were white. But nobody ran. Nobody collapsed. Nobody begged for it to stop. After 30 seconds, Velther deactivated the device. He looked confused, his skin color shifting rapidly. You are still standing." "Yeah," Minho said, his voice a bit shaky but firm. "That was unpleasant." "Is there a point to this?" "Unpleasant?" Velther's voice rose. "That device has broken entire armies, whole populations. How are you still conscious?" Una Park spoke up, her scientist curiosity overcoming her fear. "May I examine the device?" Velther waved a hand dismissively. "It will make no difference." Una spent the next hour taking readings while the tense negotiations continued around her. The Coalition wanted Earth's resources, its location, its people as laborers in their empire. Earth's representatives refused every demand. Velther grew increasingly agitated. Finally, Una looked up from her scanner. "Captain, I think I know why it didn't work." Everyone turned to her. She swallowed hard and continued. "The device targets specific neural pathways associated with fear and submission. But human brains, we're different. Our fear response is distributed across multiple systems. We evolved on a death world. Everything on Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. Our brains learned to function through fear, not shut down because of it. Impossible, Velther hissed. Every intelligent species has the same basic neural structure. Not us, Una said simply. We're the exception. Velther stood abruptly. You have 30 days to reconsider. Submit to integration, or face military pacification. We have weapons beyond your comprehension. The neural disruptor was merely the gentlest option. He paused at the door. Every species believes they are special. Every species learns they are not. You will be no different. After the aliens left, the room erupted in nervous chatter. Minho walked over to where Una was still studying her readings. Can we fight them? He asked quietly. Una looked up at him, her eyes bright with a mixture of fear and excitement. Captain, they've been conquering species for centuries with weapons designed to break minds. But they've never met a species whose minds were forged in constant danger. They've never met us. That's not an answer. No, she admitted. But it's a start. Their technology is incredible, but it's built on assumptions. They assume all species react the same way to fear, to pain, to stress. If we're different... She trailed off, then smiled grimly. If we're different, then maybe their weapons won't work the way they expect. Minho looked out the window at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, the coalition was preparing for war. They thought humanity would break like all the others. They thought fear was a weapon that always worked. They were about to learn that humans had lived with fear their entire evolutionary history. Fear didn't break humans. It made them dangerous. 30 days, Minho said. Get to work, Una. Figure out everything you can about their technology. If they want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. The countdown had begun. The coalition fleet arrived exactly 30 days later, just as Velther had promised. Dozens of massive warships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. They didn't head for Earth. They headed for Mars. Jiho. Choi was in his office at New Sol Colony when the alarms started blaring. As the colonial administrator, he'd spent the last month preparing for this moment. But preparation and reality were very different things. He ran to the command center, where dozens of screens showed the alien ships taking positions around Mars. What are they doing? Asked his assistant. Nothing yet, Jiho said, studying the displays. They're just waiting. The answer came an hour later. Every screen, every communication device, every display on Mars suddenly showed Velther's face. Humans of Mars Colony. The submission array is now active. You will experience what true power means. Surrender now, and the pain will end. Resist, and it will continue until your minds break. Then it started. Jiho felt it crash into his mind like a wave of ice water. Images flooded his consciousness. Visions of death, of failure, of everyone he loved suffering because of him. Horrible scenarios played out in perfect detail. The colony burning. His family screaming. Himself, helpless and broken. He fell to his knees, gasping. Around him, people were crying out, some curling into balls on the floor. The visions were so real, so vivid. Terror clawed at his thoughts. But underneath the terror, something else stirred. Anger. Jiho forced himself to breathe. These weren't real visions. They were being put in his head. Someone was doing this to him, to his people. These aliens thought they could break humanity by showing them scary pictures. He pushed himself up, shaking. Everyone listen to me, he said, his voice rough. It's not real. It's in your head. They're trying to scare us into giving up. It hurts, someone sobbed. I know, Jiho said. But we're not broken yet. Get to your stations. We have work to do. Slowly, painfully, people began moving. They were crying, shaking. Some were still seeing visions, but they moved. They got to their workstations. The colony continued to function. Lieutenant Hiram Lee was in the military sector when the submission array hit. She was a Marine, trained for combat, and the visions that filled her mind were specifically tailored to her worst fears. She saw her entire unit dying because of her mistakes. She saw herself failing everyone who depended on her. "Screw this," she growled through gritted teeth. Hiram had grown up in the slums of Bizen before joining the military. She'd lived through poverty, through gang violence, through watching her mother work 3 jobs just to keep them fed. Some alien nightmare machine wasn't going to break her when real life hadn't managed it. She grabbed her rifle and headed for the armory. "All units, this is Lieutenant Lee. Gear up. We're not surrendering. We're preparing for a ground assault." "Lieutenant, we can barely think straight," someone responded. "Then don't think. Just move. That's what training is for." Her Marines rallied. They stumbled, they struggled, but they armed themselves. When Coalition dropships entered Mars's atmosphere 6 hours later, they expected to find a broken population ready to surrender. Instead, they found Hiram and her forces waiting with weapons ready. The fighting was brutal. The humans were impaired, fighting through constant mental assault, but they fought anyway. Every Coalition soldier who landed expecting easy victory found angry, determined humans who refused to quit. Back on Earth, Minho watched the reports coming in from Mars. The news should have been devastating. Instead, it was almost inspiring. "Sir, Mars colony reports 80% operational capacity despite the submission array," his communications officer said. "They're requesting ammunition resupply and medical support that they say they can hold." 80%? Minho repeated. Under constant psychic assault, Yuna entered the bridge, carrying a data pad. "Captain, I've been analyzing the reports. The submission array is working. Our people are experiencing exactly what it's designed to make them experience. Terror, despair, horrible visions. Then why haven't they surrendered?" "Because experiencing fear and being incapacitated by fear are 2 different things," Yuna explained. "Look at human history. We've always been afraid. Afraid of predators, of starvation, of the dark, of each other. But we didn't curl up and die. We kept going. We're evolutionarily built to function while scared." Minho pulled up the Coalition communication channels they'd been monitoring. The alien chatter was increasingly frantic. "They're panicking," he said. "Listen to this. Target population experiencing psychological effects but maintaining resistance. Request additional array power. They keep increasing the power, and it's not working." "It's working," Yuna corrected. "It's just not enough. They've never encountered a species that could keep fighting while terrified. Every other species they conquered would shut down completely. We just get angry." A new transmission came through from Coalition Command. It was Velther, and he no longer sounded confident. "Humans, you cannot win. Our technology is superior. Our weapons will overcome your resistance. Surrender before we are forced to escalate to kinetic warfare." Minho opened the channel. "This is Captain Kim. You told us you had weapons beyond our comprehension. You told us fear would break us. How's that working out for you?" There was a long pause. Then Velther spoke again, his voice tight with something that might have been fear. "You are experiencing the full power of the submission array. Every species before you collapsed within hours. Why are you still fighting?" "Because," Minho said calmly, "we're from Earth, and Earth doesn't raise quitters." The channel went dead. 3 hours later, the Coalition fleet began moving toward Mars with weapons charging. The psychic warfare had failed. Now, they would try actual warfare. On Mars, Jiho watched the warships approaching. The visions were still there, still awful, but he'd been living with them for 12 hours now. You could get used to anything, eventually. Even terror. All personnel, prepare for orbital bombardment, he announced. Get to the shelters. And someone get me Lieutenant Lee. Hiren appeared on his screen, her face streaked with dirt and blood. Sir, how are your people holding up? They're scared and pissed off, she said. But they're ready. Let them come. Jiho allowed himself a grim smile. The rest of the galaxy probably thinks we're crazy. Maybe we are, Hiren agreed. But we're not broken. And that's what matters. The first coalition kinetic strikes began hitting Mars's surface. The war had truly begun, and humanity was still standing. The Belt Wars started 3 weeks after Mars. The asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter became a battlefield unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Coalition General Corvin commanded the alien fleet from his flagship, confident that superior technology would prevail where psychological warfare had failed. He was about to learn how wrong he could be. Taijin Song sat in the cockpit of his fighter, running pre-flight checks. The young pilot had volunteered for the Defense Force the day after the Coalition's first attack. Now he was part of a squadron defending the mining stations in the belt. All fighters, this is command, came the voice through his headset. Coalition vessels approaching Sector 7. They're using sonic weapons. Be advised, previous encounters report severe disorientation and pain. Copy that, Taijin responded. Engaging. The Coalition ships appeared on his sensors, sleek and deadly. They opened fire with weapons that produced no visible beam or projectile. Instead, they emitted focused sound waves that could tear apart ships and scramble human brains. The first wave hit Taijin's fighter. His head exploded with pain. The sound wasn't something he heard. It was something he felt in his bones, in his teeth, in every cell. He screamed, his vision blurring, hands shaking on the controls. But he didn't black out. He didn't crash. Years of simulator training had built muscle memory that operated even when his conscious mind was reeling. His fingers found the controls and he jinked left, dodging the next sonic pulse by pure instinct. This is Song, he managed to say through gritted teeth. The sonic weapons hurt like hell, but we can fly through them. Repeat, we can maintain control. Over the next 2 weeks, human pilots learned to fight through the pain. Yuna's engineers developed noise-canceling implants that reduced the sonic weapon's effectiveness by 60%. It wasn't perfect. Pilots still got headaches, still felt sick, still had to fight through agony. But they adapted. Corvin watched his tactical displays with growing alarm. The sonic weapons that had devastated the Krill fleet and broken the Harmon defense lines were being countered. Impossible. These humans should be crippled, helpless. Instead, they kept coming. Deploy the biological agent, he ordered. Target the mining colonies. Narration was a microbiologist working at Ceres Station when the plague hit. She'd been studying Earth pathogens her entire career, fascinated by how deadly her home world's diseases were. Now that knowledge became crucial. The Coalition's bioweapon was elegant and terrible. It targeted respiratory systems, causing them to fail within hours. It had wiped out populations on 6 different worlds. The Coalition deployed it on 3 mining colonies simultaneously, expecting mass casualties. Instead, they got Nari. She worked for 72 hours straight, analyzing the pathogen. It was sophisticated, designed to attack what the Coalition considered standard biology. But human biology wasn't standard. Humans had evolved alongside some of the most aggressive pathogens in the galaxy. Earth's diseases had been trying to kill humanity for millions of years. It's fast, but it's too specialized, Nari explained to the medical team. It targets one specific pathway in the respiratory system. Humans have 3 backup pathways. It's why only 3% of exposed personnel died instead of everyone. 3% is still a lot of people, her assistant said quietly. I know, Nari's voice was heavy. But 97% survived and are now developing immunity. The coalition doesn't understand evolutionary pressure. Every disease that hit Earth made us stronger. This one will too. Within a month, human populations exposed to the bioweapon had developed natural immunity. Nari's team even managed to create a vaccine. The coalition's plague, which should have devastated humanity, had barely slowed them down. Corvin couldn't believe the reports. How? How are they surviving everything? His science officer, a being named Dex, brought up data on the main screen. General, I've been studying human evolutionary history. Their home world. It's a death trap. Diseases, predators, natural disasters, toxic plants, venomous creatures. 99% of all species that ever lived on Earth went extinct. Humans survived by becoming adaptable beyond any normal parameters. They're still primitives, Corvin insisted. We have warships, advanced weapons. General, they're using our own weapons against us. It was true. UNA's engineering teams had been busy. Every piece of coalition technology they captured was studied, reverse-engineered, and modified. The neural disruptors that didn't work on humans were recalibrated to work on coalition species. Captured sonic weapons were mounted on human ships. Even the bioweapon was being studied for potential use. They're learning too fast, Dex said nervously. Every time we deploy a new weapon, they adapt within weeks. Sometimes days. Taijin led a fighter wing on a raid against a coalition supply depot. His squadron used guerrilla tactics, hitting fast and disappearing into the asteroid field. The coalition expected orderly battle formations, structured engagements. Instead, humans fought like the predators they'd evolved from, ambushing, retreating, striking from unexpected angles. They fight without honor. A coalition captain complained over the command channel. They fight to win, Corvin corrected grimly. And they're succeeding. The general looked at the casualty reports. Coalition forces were taking heavy losses. Not because human technology was superior, it wasn't. But because humans refused to fight the way they were supposed to. They broke every rule of galactic warfare. They used tactics the coalition had never encountered. They adapted to every weapon, countered every strategy. And worst of all, they were getting angry. Minho received a transmission from a damaged coalition vessel his ships had disabled. The alien captain appeared on screen, looking defeated. We yield, the captain said. We surrender our vessel. Why? Minho asked. Your ship still has weapons. You could keep fighting. To what end? The alien sounded tired. You cannot be broken. Your species fights through pain that would kill us. You adapt to weapons that have conquered empires. You use our own technology against us. The captain paused. We were told you were primitives. We were told you would submit easily. We were lied to. Minho felt a strange mix of emotions. Pride, certainly. But also sadness for the alien species who'd been forced into this war by their leaders. Surrender accepted, he said. Your crew will be treated well. After the transmission ended, Yuna approached him on the bridge. Captain, we've analyzed the weapons from the surrendered ship. I think I can modify their power systems to work with our fighters. It'll triple our effective range. Do it, Minho said. How many coalition ships have we captured or disabled now? 17, Yuna replied. And we've recovered intact technology from 43 others. Every piece teaches us something new. Corvin made one final attempt. He gathered his remaining fleet and prepared for a massive assault on Earth's defensive perimeter. Surely, overwhelming force would succeed where sophisticated weapons had failed. But as his fleet moved into position, they found themselves facing human ships equipped with modified coalition weapons, human fighters using hybrid technology, and defense stations that had been reinforced with captured alien armor. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, Corvin had lost half his fleet. He sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. "Recall all forces," he said quietly. "Fall back to the outer system." "General?" his second-in-command asked. "We cannot win this," Corvin said. "These humans, they're not like other species. They don't break. They don't surrender. They just keep adapting, keep fighting, keep getting stronger." He looked at the stars beyond his viewport. "We've made a terrible mistake." Back on Earth, Nari worked in her lab, studying the latest Coalition bioweapon samples. Taijin flew patrol routes through the belt, watching for enemy scouts. Yuna coordinated teams of engineers, turning alien technology into human advantages. And in the command center, Minho watched the Coalition fleet retreating. The war wasn't over, but humanity had proven something important. They couldn't be broken. Not by fear, not by pain, not by weapons designed to conquer galaxies. The Coalition had brought their arsenal, and it had failed. The Coalition Council met in emergency session. Representatives from 47 conquered species gathered in the Great Hall, all watching as Velther presented the human problem. "They resist everything," the ambassador said, his skin color shifting with agitation. "Neural disruptors, sonic weapons, biological agents, nothing works as it should. Our fleets are being pushed back. Our soldiers are deserting. We are losing a war against a single primitive world." "Then deploy the Despair Engine," said Council Leader Vex Tarn. "It has never failed. It ended the Kalash Rebellion in 3 days. It stopped the Thorian resistance without firing a shot. Use it. Break them permanently." The Despair Engine was the Coalition's ultimate weapon. Not a physical device, but a sophisticated system that broadcast a psychic message directly into the minds of entire populations. It didn't show visions of horror like the submission array. Instead, it implanted one simple, absolute certainty. Defeat was inevitable. Resistance was futile. Surrender was the only logical choice. It ended wars across the galaxy. Whole civilizations had laid down their weapons after experiencing it, convinced at the deepest level that fighting was pointless. 3. Coalition ships carrying the Despair Engine components positioned themselves around Earth's moon. When everything was ready, they activated the system. Sumney Beak was in the Diplomatic Corps headquarters when it hit. She'd been working on communications with neutral alien species, trying to build support for Earth's position. The work was exhausting but necessary. Then the certainty flooded her mind. Humanity would lose. The Coalition was too strong, too advanced, too numerous. Every battle won was temporary. Eventually, Earth would fall. Everyone she knew would die or be enslaved. Fighting only prolonged the suffering. Surrender was mercy. Summi sat down heavily, tears running down her face. It felt so true. So absolutely, terribly true. What was the point? Why keep struggling? Then her phone rang. It was her brother, a fighter pilot. "Sunmi? You feeling this too?" His voice was rough, like he'd been crying. "Yeah," she whispered. "It's awful. It feels like we've already lost." "I know. But listen, something's making us feel this way. It's not real. It's them doing this to our heads." Summi felt a spark of anger cut through the despair. "They're in our minds again." "Yeah, and I'm getting really tired of aliens messing with my brain." That anger spread across Earth like wildfire. Yes, people felt the despair. Yes, the certainty of defeat was overwhelming. But underneath it, a different feeling grew. Rage. The Coalition was trying to break them again. Trying to make them give up without fighting. Making them feel hopeless, helpless, Defeated, humans didn't react well to being manipulated. Minho broadcast a message to all Earth forces 6 hours after the despair engine activated. He looked tired, his eyes red, but his voice was steady. Everyone can feel it. The certainty that we'll lose. The feeling that resistance is pointless. I feel it too. He paused. But I want you to remember something. They're trying to make us feel this way. They're using a weapon designed to break our will. And you know what? I'm not going to let them. I'm angry. I'm angry that they think they can mess with our minds. I'm angry that they think we'll just give up. Are you angry too? The response was overwhelming. Across Earth, Mars, the Belt, and every human outpost, people replied. Yes, they were angry, furious, enraged. The despair engine kept broadcasting. Humans kept feeling the crushing certainty of defeat. But they fought anyway, driven by spite and fury and sheer stubborn refusal to be broken. Wu Jinghan worked in intelligence, monitoring coalition communications. Even through his own despair, he kept working. That's when he noticed something strange. Sir, he called to his supervisor. The coalition channels are going crazy. Listen to this. They listened to intercepted communications. Coalition officers were panicking. The despair engine is operating at full power. Why are they still attacking? Humans are reporting psychological effects, but combat effectiveness is only down 20%. This is impossible. The engine should have stopped all resistance. Wu Jin smiled grimly through his tears. They don't understand. We know we're being manipulated. We know it's artificial. And that just makes us angrier. Sumi had an idea. If the coalition could broadcast messages into human minds, maybe humans could broadcast back. She brought the concept to Yuna's engineering team. We've captured 3 neural broadcasting devices, Yuna said. We could modify them. What do you want to broadcast? Human resilience, Sumi said. Our history. Our refusal to quit. If they want a war of minds, let's show them what human determination looks like. They worked for 3 days, building a transmission that would carry the essence of human defiance. Images of humans climbing mountains, surviving disasters, overcoming impossible odds. Audio of human music, songs of rebellion and freedom and hope. Stories of people who'd fought against overwhelming forces and won. Then they broadcasted at the coalition fleet. The effect was immediate and devastating. Coalition soldiers, used to species that submitted easily, suddenly experienced human determination firsthand. They felt what it was like to keep fighting when everything said to quit. They experienced the stubborn refusal to accept defeat that had carried humanity through ice ages and wars and disasters. Many couldn't handle it. Coalition troops began requesting transfers. Some deserted entirely. A few ships simply powered down and refused to fight anymore. What did you do to them? Corvin demanded over an open channel. Showed them what they're fighting, Minho replied. You've conquered 47 species who gave up when things got hard. We don't do that. We can't do that. It's not in our nature. Wu Jin's intelligence team detected something else. Encrypted communications between subjugated coalition species. They were talking about the humans. About the species that refused to break. About the possibility of resistance. Sir, Wu Jin reported to Minho. We're seeing activity in the Kalish sector. The rebellion that the despair engine stopped 3 years ago is starting again. They're using human tactics. Hit and run attacks. Guerrilla warfare. The Thorians too, another analyst added. They're broadcasting human music on their underground networks. Calling it the sound of freedom. Sumi saw the opportunity. She began reaching out to these species covertly, offering advice, sharing tactics. Not weapons, they had to do that themselves. But knowledge. How to resist psychic warfare. How to keep fighting when your mind told you to quit. how to turn your oppressors' weapons against them. The Coalition realized too late what was happening. The humans weren't just resisting. They were inspiring. Every subjugated species was watching this primitive world fight the Coalition to a standstill. And they were learning. Velther appeared on screen one more time. He looked different now. Tired. Afraid. Humans. The Council offers a new proposal. Join us as equals. Share your resistance to our control methods. Help us understand your psychology. In exchange, full membership in the Coalition, access to all our technology, representation in our government. Minho laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. Now you want us as partners? After you tried to enslave us? After you attacked our colonies? After you tried to break our minds? You don't understand the danger you've created, Velther said. The other species are rebelling. The Coalition is fracturing. If it collapses, the galaxy will descend into chaos. Then maybe the Coalition deserves to collapse, Minho said quietly. Maybe an empire built on breaking people's minds shouldn't exist. You'll do millions to war and suffering. You doomed them when you conquered them. We're just showing them they can fight back. The despair engine continued broadcasting for another week before the Coalition finally shut it down. It hadn't worked. If anything, it had made things worse. Humans fighting through absolute certainty of defeat had shown the galaxy something it had never seen before. Sunmi met with representatives from 6 different species. All of them rebels fighting Coalition control. They met in secret, in neutral space, away from Coalition sensors. How do you resist the psychic weapons? One asked. We don't resist them, Sunmi explained. We feel them. The fear, the despair, all of it. We just don't let it stop us. You have to understand. Feeling afraid and being incapacitated by fear are different things. You can be terrified and still fight. You can feel hopeless and still resist. That sounds impossible. It's not, Sunmi said. It's human. And you can learn it too. By the time the meeting ended, the seeds of a galaxy-wide resistance had been planted. The Coalition had tried to break humanity with psychological warfare. Instead, humanity had turned it around, broadcasting defiance back at their oppressors and teaching the galaxy how to fight. Woojin's final report to command was simple. Sir, we've identified 12 species actively rebelling against Coalition control. They're all using tactics and strategies learned from observing us. The Coalition is facing collapse from within. Minho read the report and smiled. The aliens had brought weapons designed to conquer the mind. They'd brought fear, despair, psychological torture. They'd used them all on humanity. And humanity had weaponized hope instead. The Coalition assembled its final fleet. Every available warship, every soldier, every weapon they possessed. They would crush Earth once and for all, before the rebellion spreading across their empire could destroy them completely. Corvin stood on the bridge of his flagship at the head of the largest military force the Coalition had ever gathered. Behind him, 300 warships prepared for the final assault. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like desperation. All ships, prepare for transition to Earth orbit, he commanded. This ends today. The fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation around Earth. The sight should have terrified any defending force. For a moment there was silence. Then Minho's voice came over the open channel. That's a lot of ships you brought, General. Trying to intimidate us? This is your last chance, Corvin said. Surrender now, and Earth will be spared. Continue fighting, and we will reduce your world to ash. Go ahead and try. Before Corvin could respond, another ship appeared. Then another. Coalition vessels, but transmitting Earth identification codes. Captured ships refitted with human crews and hybrid technology. 30 of them, positioning themselves alongside Earth's defense fleet. "You lost those," Minho said calmly. "We're using them now. Thanks for the donation." Velthor's face appeared on a secondary channel, connecting directly to Minho's flagship. The ambassador looked old, tired, desperate. "Captain Kim, please. If we lose this battle, the coalition collapses. 47 species will descend into war. Billions will die. We can end this peacefully. We offer Earth equal status in the coalition. Full membership. No subjugation. Just join us." Minho was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was hard. "You came to my world planning to enslave us. You attacked our colonies. You tried to break our minds with weapons designed to torture. You killed our people. And now that you're losing, you want to negotiate? We made mistakes," Velthor admitted. "But more death serves no purpose." "You're right," Minho agreed. "So here's my counteroffer. You surrender. The coalition disbands. Every species you've subjugated goes free. Every species you've subjugated goes free. You pull back to your home systems and stay there. That's the deal. Impossible. The coalition has existed for thousands of years, and it's built on breaking people who couldn't fight back," Minho said. "Well, you found someone who can. Accept it." Volthor's image vanished. Corvin's voice replaced it, cold and final. "All ships weapons free. Attack." The battle for Earth began. Coalition warships unleashed everything they had. Energy weapons that could boil oceans. Kinetic missiles moving at relativistic speeds. Biological weapons. Sonic disruptors. Neural scrambling broadcasts. Every weapon that had conquered the galaxy, all used simultaneously. Earth's defenses activated. Una had spent months preparing for this. Captured coalition shields reinforced with human engineering. Weapon systems that combined alien technology with human innovation. And most importantly, crews who'd learned to fight through pain and fear. Taijin led his fighter wings straight into the coalition formation. Sonic weapons battered his squadron. Neural disruptors tried to scramble their brains, but the pilots kept flying. They'd trained for this. They'd adapted to this. The pain was terrible, but they'd lived with it for months now. "Fox Squadron, target the command ship's port shield generator," Taijin ordered. His voice was steady despite the agony. "Hit it and break off." They dove through a wall of defensive fire, lost 2 fighters, but destroyed the generator. The coalition flagship shields flickered and failed on one side. On the surface, Hiron coordinated ground defenses against coalition dropships. The enemy tried to land troops on Earth, thinking they could force a surrender by holding cities hostage. They hadn't counted on the fact that every human civilian had been trained in resistance. "They're landing near Seoul," someone reported. "Let them," Hiron said grimly. "They want Seoul? They're going to learn what urban warfare means." Coalition soldiers found themselves fighting not just military units but civilians with improvised weapons, using tactics learned from centuries of human conflict. Every building was a fortress. Every street was an ambush. The aliens were superior fighters, but they'd never faced an entire population that refused to surrender. In space, Nari's biological countermeasures proved their worth. Coalition bioweapons spread through the defense fleet, but the crews had been vaccinated against them. More than that, Nari had weaponized Earth's own pathogens, carefully tailored to affect coalition biology. The alien ships suddenly faced diseases they had no defense against. "Their medical bays are overwhelmed," Woojin reported from intelligence. "They're not equipped to handle Earth diseases. Some ships are requesting to withdraw just to get medical help." The battle raged for 6 hours. Coalition forces, despite their numbers and technology, couldn't break through. Every weapon they deployed was countered. Every strategy was anticipated. The humans had studied them too well, adapted too completely. Finally, Corvin saw his casualty reports. 40% of his fleet was disabled or destroyed. The humans had lost ships too, but they were still fighting with the same intensity as when the battle started. Pain didn't slow them. Fear didn't stop them. They just kept coming. All ships fall back, he ordered quietly. Retreat to lunar orbit. As the coalition fleet withdrew, Minho received a priority transmission from Sunmi, who was in a secure location off-world. Captain, I'm with representatives from 6 rebel species. They're watching the battle. They're asking if we need assistance. Tell them we have this under control, Minho said. But thank them, and let them know that when this is over, we'll help them win their own freedom. Velthor appeared on screen one final time. Behind him, Minho could see the Coalition Council, all looking defeated and afraid. What are you? Velthor asked, his voice almost a whisper. We've conquered 47 species. We've fought wars across the galaxy. We've used weapons that have broken empires. Nothing works on you. What are you? Minho thought about how to answer. He thought about Earth, about humanity's long, violent history, about ice ages and plagues and predators and disasters, about the countless challenges that had shaped his species into what they were. We're from Earth, he said finally. Everything on our world tried to kill us for millions of years. Diseases, predators, the climate, each other. 99% of all species that ever lived on Earth went extinct. We survived by being too stubborn to quit, too adaptable to break, too angry to surrender. You think your weapons would work where 4 billion years of evolution failed? What do you want? Velthor asked. I told you. Disband the coalition. Free the conquered species. Go home. And if we refuse, then we keep fighting, Minho said simply. We'll fight for years if we have to. Decades. Generations. We'll never stop and we'll never break. And every day we fight, more species will see that resistance is possible. Eventually, your empire will tear itself apart. The Coalition Council conferred. It took 3 hours. Finally, Velthor returned to the screen. The Coalition accepts your terms. We will withdraw from human space. The subjugated species will be granted independence. In exchange, Earth agrees not to actively incite further rebellions. We won't incite them, Minho agreed. But we won't stop helping species who ask for our aid. Deal? Deal. The Coalition fleet withdrew from Earth orbit 2 days later. As they left, Jiho stood on the observation deck of Mars Colony, watching them go. Beside him, Hiren was quiet for a long moment. We won, she said finally. Yeah, Jiho agreed. We did. They'll tell stories about this across the galaxy. Probably. About the primitives who couldn't be broken. 3 months later, the first ships arrived from newly freed Coalition species. They came seeking asylum, seeking trade, seeking knowledge. But mostly, they came to see the humans for themselves. The species that had done the impossible. Yuna stood in the engineering bay, showing a group of Kalash engineers how to modify captured Coalition neural disruptors. The key is understanding that the weapon is designed on assumptions, she explained. If your biology is different enough, those assumptions don't hold. You can make the weapon fail. Or, better yet, make it backfire. The Kalash engineer looked at the device nervously. On our world, we're taught that Coalition technology is unbeatable. That's what they want you to believe, Yuna said. But everything can be beaten. You just have to understand how it works and be willing to make it fail. Here, I'll show you. Sunmi was in diplomatic meetings almost constantly now. Representatives from species across the galaxy wanted to talk to Earth, to understand how they'd resisted, to learn if they could do the same. She was tired but satisfied. The galaxy is changing, she told Minho during a break. The Coalition's empire is fracturing. Species are declaring independence. Some are forming new alliances. It's chaotic, but it's free chaos. Better than orderly slavery, Minho agreed. Taijin took a group of pilots from 3 different species on a training flight through the belt. He showed them human tactics, aggressive maneuvers, how to fight dirty and win. You fly like you're trying to die, one pilot complained. We fly like we're trying to win, Taijin corrected. There's a difference. Sometimes you have to risk everything to get anything. On Mars, Jiho welcomed the first wave of refugee ships.